This is about cases, negotiable instruments, actually about checks. So the first case that I'm going to talk about is this one. Read the case, please. It's about not negotiable check given by the owner to his clerks. Normal habit, right? It's normal practice. Normally, a director of a company or the owner of the company may not fill the full amount of the content in the check. There are a couple of things to be added up. He may just put the signature and just pass it to the the clerk to do the rest. So this owner also did the same. You can't exactly call it negligence, but this is kind of practice. And then once you give it to the clerk only will be looking at the salary documents or the other documents and fill the name and the rest and hand it over to the relevant person. So that's the habit in a company. As a fail-safe mechanism, sometimes the check will have two signatures. That means the owner of the company or the senior director of the company may sign the blank check. Then he gives it to the clerk. Clerk will fill up the necessary details, and then he will hand over to another director who will double check and put his signature. So this double signature system is normal in kind of companies dealing with rather bigger contracts, right? But anyway, in this case, what happens? Case name is this. The owner, right, signs the check and cross it not negotiable, gives it to the clerk, and the clerk was supposed to fill it up. What he did was, rather than following the instructions of the owner, clerk put some other detail, somebody else's name and some other amount of money, and gave it to someone else. And he hands it over to the company and bank and get the cash. Now there are three parties in a check transaction, right? With regard to going through, right? The bank, the holder. Of course, here there's a clerk also involved. Who would be liable? Is a bank liable here? I don't think so. Hard to take action against a bank because the signature was true, right? It came the right way. How about action against the person who handed it over to the bank? And he got it from the clerk. If he got it in bad faith, that means with full knowledge that the clerk did the wrong thing, yes, defendant may be liable. But how about the clerk here? Clerk is totally liable. He had no title to the check. He was not given the check as a payee or as a holder. He was just given the check as an employee of the company to fill the details and give it to the person mentioned. So clerk had no right to alter the content in the check or add additional content in the check that was not told him firsthand by the owner. So here the court said clerk is fully liable. Clerk had no title to the check. As a result of it, defendant loses also the title to the check. The case name is Wilson and Meeson versus Pickering. It's an old case. There's a very similar case called Don Carollis versus Soisa and Company Limited. It's a Sri Lankan case. Check it out. Take this one. So this, it's again pretty much related to the relationships we develop, right? Inside a company, sometimes inside our lives. Here what happens was husband had a checkbook, current account definitely he would have had, and he allowed the wife to forge his signature. We do that, right? In real life situations, we may do that because we may not be able to go to the bank. So we ask brother or wife or sister, or you sign on my behalf, and you do that. Sometimes our signatures are very similar in shape. Okay, let's say I don't make any fuss with the bank, and when the wife does it again, once, twice, thrice, then the bank also will get used to her signature, right? As the original one. That's yours. And husband does nothing about it. Actually, he allows it, or he tolerates it. He doesn't complain about it. So wife goes on 40 such transactions. This happens inside a company also, right? We make such fun of getting another guy sign for me. But the thing is, things could go south, right? Things can happen in a negative sense. So here, after the death of the wife, husband filed legal action against the company. Bank telling, look, you've been encashing checks, allowing checks where the signature was a forgery. I did not allow my wife to do it. But then in the court said, no, 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 you could have easily known that your wife was doing it. It has happened so many times. Why didn't you make a complaint? Because of that, he was not able to take legal action against the company, bank. It's a British case, Greenwood versus Martins. This one. This is an interesting case somewhere where the bank was made liable. What's the case? I post a check by post to someone else. Tapaling, yeah, I could do it, right? Okay, let's say the check was stolen. The letter was stolen along with the check. Then the man who stole the check, let's say you stole the check from me. Right? So you give it to the bank by, now it's written in, let's say your friend's name. Okay? So now check is written in your friend's name, not yours, but you are the one who steals the check. So what do? You endorse at the back of the check by putting the signature of your friend at the back of the check. You have to endorse it to give it to the bank now. So what you do is you open an account in your friend's name, right? And the bank allows you to open the account, and so the check gets deposited into that account, right? And when the cash comes into the account, you basically take the cash and vanish. You escape. You're a thief. I don't know who you are, right? Then I take legal action against the bank. How dare you deposit this particular check to a thief's account? He's not the payee. He's someone else. Right? And you allowed the cash to be deposited into the account, and not only that, you even allowed him to run away with the cash. Now he's not to be no longer to be found, and you are liable. And the court said yes, because court is not liable, or court will not make a bank liable for the endorsement in the deposit, right? But the court made the bank liable for not taking reasonable precautions when opening an account by the thief in the name of someone else. Bank should have easily double checked. There were so many ways the bank could have double checked, whether the particular account actually is held by the particular thief, or is he opening the account in someone else's name. Due to the failure of that, bank was made liable. This is the case Ladbroke versus Todd. There are very few cases where the banks are held liable. This is one. Remember, the bank was held liable not for the endorsement. Not that. Banks are not liable for the endorsement. Bank was held liable for, allowing an account to be opened in somebody else's name, which was not his payee's name, right? This one. Again, it's pretty much relatable. When you do communication, remember, communication is not just sending information. Communication is about ensuring that the other party receives the information. Now here, I issue a check in your name, I give it to you, and before you give it to the bank, I give a stop payment order to the bank by sending a telegram, right? Telegram, all right, please stop payment for this particular check. If the particular person comes for the encashment of the check, don't pay. Wait until I tell you. So that's a stop payment order. We call it countermanding. And so it was delivered to it was given to the bank. Yes, telegram has gone, but the employee of the bank has made a mistake and put it in the letter docket rather than the telegram docket. So the particular telegram reached the manager too late. By that time, you have already encashed the check. Then I take legal action against you. I gave you clear instructions to stop payment for this check. How come you allowed the check? And the bank said, no, we are not liable. We did not get your message. And court agreed. It's true that I have sent the telegram, but that is not communication. Whenever I give a stop payment order, I have a duty to communicate the stop payment. Meaning what? Not just sending it, but making sure that the right person in the bank received the request. I can't just send the message and send the telegram and forget about it. I have to check whether it has reached the other party. Here I did not do it. Because of that, it was not the bank that was liable. I was the one who was wrong, and I couldn't win the case. Curtis versus London City and Midland Bank case. This one. This is interesting, how to prepare a check, right? I prepare a check for $2, right? But I don't put writing. Again, I give it to my clerk to fill it out, right? There are a couple of wrongs that I make here. Yeah, if I put an amount, I should have the guts to fill it in letters also, because the amount is written in a check, on the face of a check, in two ways. Number one, the figure, ilakkama. Number two, the letters. The person who put the figure should be putting the writing also. Hey, I don't do that. I don't do into the amount, and I just put 2. And when writing 2 also, I make a mistake. I haven't taken precautions in writing my 2. My writing of 2 was so careless, $2 was so careless that the employee of mine was able to put 1 in front of it and 2 behind it. Luckily, he did not put any more ballers behind it, right? He made the $2 check to look like $120 check. He encashed it, give me $2, and encash for himself, pocket himself, $118. I take action against the bank. How come I gave you this particular check for $2? How come you not see this particular fraud, right? 420. But the court said, no, you are the one liable. You have prepared the check carelessly, right? For the careless drawer, law can't help. This is a case of, the drawer being careless. The case is London Joint Stock Bank versus McQuillan and Arthur. All right, few cases, but very relevant, and make sure to check the Bills of Exchange Act, particularly these sections, section 60, 80, and 82. These cover the banker's liability, or how the banker may not be liable with regard to careless check being, processed. Okay, catch you in another lesson.